money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
It's 1400 hours Central African time. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for making time to join us here on Nedbank Business Watch. We promise to give you a program that you will enjoy. Myself and my co-host here, Lungelele Magagula. A very good afternoon.
Good afternoon indeed. Thank you for tuning in. This is Nedbank Business Watch. We do watch us on our YouTube page. It's Eswatini TV. Very good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Yeah, we get straight into our program today. We want to look at this exciting development. On the 3rd of June, the Kingdom of Eswatini is stepping onto one of the world's most iconic stages, the Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan, with the Prime Minister himself leading the charge, flanked by cabinet ministers and private sector players. It promises to be more than a cultural display, but a statement of intent when it comes to investment in the Kingdom of Eswatini, which is, of course, a signal to the world that Eswatini is open, it is ready, and it is claiming its space in the global marketplace. But what exactly will the world see, and how does this moment shape the kingdom's investment story? We have Executive Manager for Trade Promotion at Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Mr. Sibusiso Mnisi, who's going to join us with the inside track.
Yeah, and on another note, excitement is in the air as local entrepreneurs prepare to tap into the vibrant energy of the MTN Bushfire Festival happening from May 30th to June 1st. For many, this isn't just a weekend of music and culture, it's a golden opportunity to boost their businesses. The MTN Bushfire Festival provides several benefits for businesses, including increased sales, networking opportunities, and exposure to a diverse audience. The festival also supports local business development through capacity building workshops and initiatives aimed at fostering the growth of local entrepreneurs. Some business report raking in as much as 100,000 emalangeni during the festival weekend alone. Business journalist Nelsuwe Ndlangamandla spoke to some of them, so do stay tuned to hear what they had to say. For now, let's go straight to our first story.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
All right, welcome back. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has announced that 270 exhibitors have already applied to exhibit at the 2025 Eswatini International Trade Fair that is scheduled for September this year. APO's Manager for Domestic Trade and Promotion, Sipesihle Ngabinze, confirmed that international exhibitors from Turkey and Taiwan have also signed on. Adding a global flair to the event, every year the trade fair is expected to create potential trade opportunities worth over 150 million emalangeni, and it continues to serve as a prime platform for businesses to network, to connect, as well as to showcase their products and services to local and international markets.
We have seen interest from local companies, small or even big, and we've also seen interest from international participation. We are expecting a companies from Turkey to be part of the Eswatini International Trade Fair. Taiwan has signaled that they will be part of this year's trade fair, and we are still looking for exhibitors from nearby economies, let's say, for example, Mozambique, your Zambia, your Zimbabwe, but we are expecting an influx in terms of international exhibitors. Then for the local companies, they've already applied, and some have already paid for being part of this year's trade fair. And also with our vendors, those shisanyama, the popcorns, your ice cream vendors, they've also made payments for being part of this year's trade fair. So I think we are having a fair number of exhibitors showing interest in participating this year. Usually the Eswatini International Trade Fair admits around 250 plus exhibitors each and every year. So in terms of our numbers, we've realized around 270 as of today of those that have made applications, but we're still expecting a growth in terms of those that have made payments. I just want to emphasize one thing, that securing space at the trade fair is not about making that application, but it's about making that payment, securing your space. So I think we are still to realize an increase going forward.
The Royal Science and Technology Park RSTP Business Incubator Program, launched in 2017, has produced 10 thriving businesses, now generating a combined turnover of 40 million malangeni per year. RSTP Senzo Malaza announced that 38 entrepreneurs are currently housed in the program, and applications are now open for aspiring startups from all sectors of innovation to join the next cohort.
We have since seen over 10 startups that were graduated from the incubation program, and of the 10, they have employed not less than 100 people combined. And the last we checked, they were each turning over around about between 3 to 4 million. So it talks to them having an annual turnover of about 40 to 50 million, or rather 30 to 40 million emalangeni annually. So that's an impact, or that's a figure that we think is very impactful in the country's economy. Obviously, that was about a year ago. There's quite a lot that has changed. Just last week, we were visiting a couple of those startups, and we've seen quite a lot of growth.
Sandile Mavuso, founder of Sibongile Beverages, says his business was established in 2018 and has employed about 7 people with the help of the Royal Science and Technology Park.
The business has grown over the years because at first, when I first approached the Royal Science and Technology Park, the incubator program, I had an idea. I didn't have the full business by then, but I had an idea of what I wanted to do. They were able to coach me, develop the product, professionalize it, including forming the business as well, the business registration. And then I've been able to grow from there, going to being able to produce at home to a facility like Serco and now here.
The Business Incubator Program continues to play a vital role in driving innovation, empowering local entrepreneurs, and building a resilient economy in Eswatini. By providing startups with the tools, mentorship, and space to grow, the program is not just creating businesses, it is cultivating the next generation of industry leaders. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, and Derek Msibi, Matapa.
Well, and that's it for our business news. It's 8 minutes after 2. Do stay with us. There's plenty next.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever. Then you will have a experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to build, motivate, and inspire. This is truly the royal experience. When you dream of a different world, beyond the ordinary, beyond time, discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. Team Eswatini is set to make a powerful statement at Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan, with an electrifying National Day celebration scheduled for the 3rd of June. Now, the build-up to this cultural showpiece will feature a series of high-profile activities led by the Right Honourable Prime Minister Russell Limiso Dlamini, and he will be joined by Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honourable Mangoba Khumalo, the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Honourable Jane Mkonda, as well as Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mabulala Masego, and other members of Parliament, as well as a delegation from both the public and private sectors. Now, Executive Manager for Trade Promotion, Sibusiso Mnisi from the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority joins us now to share more on Eswatini's National Day celebrations and what to expect from the Kingdom's participation at the global event. Mr. Mnisi, thanks so much for joining us on the show. I suppose I should
hosting us.
Congratulate APA first and foremost. You guys have been on a very rigorous drive for attracting foreign direct investment into the Kingdom of Eswatini, but not only that, domestic investment as well. Looking into this particular development that is exciting, it is not going to be just another slot on the calendar, but rather a diplomatic performance, if you like. I want to understand what is it that you will be communicating at the Expo 2025 beyond just the song and dance.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us in your program. I think, as you rightly indicated, we've just had a very successful conference. So what a way, to build up to that, with the Japan National Day celebrations. So basically, as you have said it, we will be having a number of activities that are happening there. Basically what we are trying to do is to tell our story. World Expos, they provide a platform for you to showcase, show your socio-economic advancements, promote business opportunities, tourism, and other things, and especially to come to that platform and tell your story in terms of what you want to see. Things that are facing humanity that we think we can change as a country.
Yeah.
I think what is important is that they are also their theme, which is centered around designing future society for our lives, which is basically saying what can we do, what can we change in the way that we live, the challenges that are facing humanity.
Absolutely.
And all of that, and address those issues. So basically, this platform really is presenting that opportunity for us to showcase that, but also to bring in our culture, because we are also saying, as a country, as you shape your future society, you obviously need to know that you have a history.
Yeah.
Hence our theme for Expo is our history will define the future society that we're looking for. We think maintaining who we are as a country, keeping our heritage will indeed lead us to a brighter future.
Yeah.
So the Expo really presents that, but I know that many people, they look at it from a business perspective only.
Absolutely.
So it's that aspect, and then of course trickling down to tourism, trickling down to investment, to trade, to issues on ICT, and all of that.
And I suppose the one on investment, especially for me sitting on this chair and just studying everything that has been happening in the country, I suppose is one of the biggest drivers that the Kingdom of Eswatini is focusing on right now. And looking at some of the highlights from the investment conference here at home, you have certain incentives that you have put in place to make sure that we attract, foreign direct investment. And I want us to talk to those because I saw the corporate tax concession. There's a 10% sort of period for 10 years, as well as an exemption for dividends in certain sectors. Looking at those sectors, are we able to say in Japan we'll be able to at least find people that we can, garner to come to the Kingdom of Eswatini in manufacturing and value addition? There's mining, there's tourism, sustainable development, and scientific knowledge, as it were.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned it. The story that is central, for Eswatini in terms of promoting investment is the issue that I think the recent conference confirmed that people are happy with the business climate.
Absolutely.
To have investors committing close to 40 billion, and most of them being local that are expanding.
Yeah.
That shows you that they are happy with the climate. And basically what it's saying for us is what has been central, to all of this is the peace and stability, which is what we are also trying to promote. So for Japanese, during the launch, we had YKK. I think you had the story, YKK confirming that, this is a very good environment. And for the business forum, what I can say is also YKK Japan will be there to tell them, they need to hear firsthand, from them that, doing business with the kingdom is good. So I think we will be able to get a lot of interest. We are positioning ourselves not only to attract, FDI, but also as a distribution hub, because I think that's another angle that we need to look at. That you can set up in Eswatini and target, the regional markets, neighboring markets, which presents a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
But also setting up to access, the African market in particular. I think that's very key for Japanese. They are looking for that.
You know, Japan is highly advanced in ICT, but I suppose it's important for us to not look at the umbrella, but look at where it is the most evolved under that spectrum, under that umbrella. They have advanced infrastructure. There's 5G deployment there that is very, very good, fiber optic broadband. And that one touches me because one of our biggest ambitions in bringing services closer to the people is the fiber installation that the ICT ministry wants to really push right now. You know, we speak about the FDI and you say it's not only the only thing that you want to push. When you look at your priorities, what is at number one? And obviously, good that starts with sekugcineni, but what are your priorities looking like?
All right. I think what's very key, World Expo, and in particular Japan, they are also promoting their 5.0, you know, society, which is a strategy really that is looking at how they can unlock, you know, the new technologies, you know, opportunities in terms of AI, in terms of robotics and all of that. So I will say for us, and given what you have said in infrastructure development, and I think some of the new developments that have been done by the Ministry of ICT, I think ICT is very key. You know, when you go to Japan, the area where you think perhaps they will be interested in is in those sectors. But then, of course, we are focusing on mining, we are focusing on energy, which is also, especially renewable, which is also touching on issues of sustainable development goals.
Right.
Because the other aspect of the expo is to track, you know, really in terms of how far are countries, you know, going in terms of attaining. And as Eswatini, we will also be telling our story that, you know what, we really have done a lot in terms of attaining our SDGs.
It's quite interesting because you mentioned the issue around energy. We saw the bill that recently passed. Obviously, the biggest loan we've ever received is the Kingdom of Eswatini. That is focused on the energy space, particularly in petroleum. And I wonder if we'll be able to, you know, attract some of the investments there that will be able to come here at home. But most importantly, you guys will have to make sure that there are quarters there. We need to bolster our job creation, and we have to make sure those job opportunities are really good. Are you planning on looking into that in particular?
I think the angle that I can maybe bring to this is that we as APA are also driving, you know, what we call, you know, empowering our locals, made in Eswatini, making sure that our own SMEs have got access to the markets. So I think forging those collaboration and linkages with the people in the petroleum industry definitely is going to work, because an SME in Eswatini needs to have a piece of that.
Thank you so much for your time. It's Busisiso Mnisi, the Executive Manager for Trade Promotion at the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. Eswatini gears up for Expo 2025. The National Day will be there, and we'll be watching closely. Let's go for that break.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever, then you will have a royal experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to
Right, from a conversation around trade and investment in the Kingdom of Eswatini, where they'll be sitting on a global stage, to now a solution around global trade. From Nedbank Eswatini, Jabulo Kumetsa is the manager of global trade and payments. We recap on a clip that we sat down with him on last year, where he sat down with the Lungalele Makakula. Let's enjoy that clip.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Business Watch, powered by Nedbank. Today, we're joined by Njabulo Kamete, who's the manager of global trade and payments from Nedbank. Today, we're talking about Nedbank Global Trade. A very good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're talking about this very important service that, as Nedbank, you provide. Why do you provide the service, and who is eligible, to be provided with this service?
Good afternoon, Lulu, and thank you so much for having me. So I think maybe firstly would just to define what is this global trade, if I may. So global trade, it's basically the buying and selling of goods and services between residents of Eswatini and the rest of the world. So this is a critical space for Nedbank clients, because there is a lot of buying and selling of goods between businesses of Eswatini and the rest of the world. So we see from our clients, essentially, they buy a lot of imports from outside the country, and we also have goods which they buy within the Common Monetary Area, which is CMA, whereby there's free flow of funds, and then there's also trade outside the Common Monetary Area, such that they import or export their products in as countries as far as China, or United States of America. So essentially, what we advocate for clients as Nedbank Eswatini is that we are trying to mitigate risk. So you find that you have clients who haven't established the relationship with their prospective sellers outside the country, and more especially countries as far as United States. You'll find that a client will get on Google trying to source a certain good and serve a good, and usually that's usually a risky part, because you find that the client cannot just make the payment with the hope of the seller supplying those goods and services. So primarily, that's where, as Nedbank, we play a pivotal role to secure those payments, to say, even if the relationship hasn't been established, if it's a first-time trade activity, we secure through our products, one in particular, it's the letter of credits. So we offer letters of credits, which is a payment solution for clients that are embarking on trade with their counterparts for the first time. So the letter of credit, how does it work? It's more of a contract which sets different conditions for the two parties to meet before this payment, before the payment can be executed. So it essentially ensures that the goods are delivered as per the standard, because you find that I will see those goods on the website of the seller, and then the letter of credit will prescribe on the standard on how the goods should be delivered, where the goods should be delivered, and also the mode of transport, also insurance, who take care of insurance during the transportation. So it essentially protects the two parties in terms of the buyer getting the product that they have requested from the supplier, and the supplier essentially getting payment upon supplying. So that's one of the major and important services that we offer as Nedbank for first time to secure the relationship in as far as trade is concerned.
Okay, so are you particular with the goods that the client buys or sells? Do you look into the goods, the type of goods that the client sells? Are you certain about any goods, or maybe they can just sell or buy any goods?
So primarily they can buy any goods, and I think as a matter of principle we are also governed by so the buying and selling of goods between countries, essentially for Eswatini, we are governed by the exchange control manual. So as bank, for us to facilitate certain payments, we have to be governed. So each and every payment is prescribed in the exchange control manual. So I'll make an example. When a company, a pharmaceutical company in Eswatini, wants to import pharmaceutical products outside the CMA, they first have to produce, for us to facilitate that payment, they have to also submit an import permit, which is sourced from the Ministry of Finance. So it's one of the prerequisites, because as a bank, we are also governed or regulated by the central bank. But it's not every product that I'll make a mention of those that require import permits. The grey cars that we import from countries like Japan and countries like China. So also for us to also pay for those grey cars, the client has to submit the invoices and also the import permit, because we can't facilitate. That's what the law requires. Yeah, but some other goods you can, like I'll make an example of your just buying new clothes. If you are in the business of selling clothes, you can buy clothes from Japan without an import permit. Give us the invoice and we can facilitate the payment, and also machinery. Yes, but there are those that we have to go via. We have to request documentation. Yeah.
All right. So I know that anything that has to do with transactions comes with risks and benefits as well. So what are the risks, with buying globally, and how can your clients or Swazis protect themselves, from anything that can happen?
Regarding the risks that are involved, it's essentially the issue of non-payment. More especially from a situation of you have supplied certain goods, and now you're anticipating payment as a seller. So those are some of the risks that are involved, and also whereby the quality of the goods as well. You see something online, you order it, and only to find that that's not the product you had initially ordered. So those are some of the risks, and also non-delivery. I pay, maybe I do an advance payment and I anticipate delivery of the goods, they are not paid ultimately. So those are some of the risks that are within the space. But as Nedbank, through our products, as I have mentioned earlier, your letters of credits, that one essentially safeguards against the non-payment and the non-delivery. And we also have foreign bills, which also facilitates for the credit line, whereby now the relationship has been established, so the seller can extend more credit to more leeway to pay maybe at a future date. So we have also the foreign bills for collection. Also, we do have credit facilities, whereby as Nedbank we also vet the client from a credit point of view, and then we can also maybe borrow that client in terms of facilitating their trade activity. So those are some of the products that we offer our clients, which we believe they make trade much more easier.
Okay. So is there a time frame or restrictions on the number of times I can use your service? You know, the number of times you can help me secure a payment, safe payment, you know, when I buy goods globally per month, for example?
Not really. It's primarily based on the appetite of, because we have big corporates whereby they rapidly do foreign exchange payments, and there's primarily no challenge in terms of
as long as my documents are
your documents are in order. The prerequisite basically is the documentation, but there are no limits to say you can't do this. You can only do this payment monthly, and then the following month, and especially more especially for trade transactions.
So do I need to provide you said it's a letter of credit every time I want to make a transaction, or you already have my data on your system?
We already have your data, because you with banks, with our bank, ultimately we have your documents whereby we know KYC, know your client information. So we have that, but it will be the letter of credit will be underscored based on the trade you're doing at that time. So we can basically facilitate for you at any time based on what you are transacting in.
All right. So how long do I need to be with Nedbank for me to access this particular service? I'm a first-time client. I've been with you guys for a month, and suddenly I deposit an amount of 10 million, for an example. Do you look into that?
If your funds are...
In case of fraud cases, and this is instances of fraud cases.
If your funds are in order, because as I mentioned earlier, we do your KYC, whereby we know our clients, their source of funds. So if all that is in order, you have been vetted accordingly, then there will be no challenge in terms of us coordinating and facilitating your payments.
All right, Njabula, talk to us about investment opportunities that are there with Nedbank.
Within Nedbank. Okay, so from a global point of view, we also have an individual investment allowance, which is a dispensation by the central bank for individual clients. So for individual clients who have the appetite to invest outside the CMA, which is the Common Monetary Area, they can invest in as far as 10 million. So this is a breakthrough for our clients, because initially the investment allowance was 4 million. So the central bank recently increased it to the 10 million. So our clients can enjoy that 10 million, which is within one calendar year, from January to December. So they have 10 million to invest to any investment of their liking. I think just the underlying documentation will be to have a clear source of funds, and then to have an SRA, a tax clearance. Like that,
All right. So lastly, how can people contact you, if they want more information on this particular service?
Okay, so they can contact us through our help desk at nedbank.co.nz, and also our contact numbers. We also have our contact number, which is it's 3278 1999, and also 3278 it's 1290. They can also contact us on those
and
numbers.
Social media, of course.
Social media, it's Nedbank Eswatini. We're available on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. They can also interact. We can feel free where we have the appetite to answer any question as far as global trade is concerned.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Njabula, for joining us. There you have it, global trade with Nedbank. If you want more information, do contact Nedbank or visit their service centers to get more information, and contact them via the social media page.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It has been a week for loans, if you like. Indeed, we have seen the biggest loan Eswatini has ever taken, sitting at 5.2 billion emalangeni. That's a lot of money. And it is to construct a strategic oil reserve facility at Puzumoya. We want to understand the implications of this because there's a lot of talk around it on social media. A very, very fragmented opinion pieces from many people. Some people who pose as economists, as pseudo-economists, and as well as, rightful citizens who are allowed to have opinions. But we have a learned economist in studio who's going to help us really understand the implications of this bold move, what it means for our economy, our debt, and as well as our resilience in global fuel markets. Sanele Sbia, he's here with us in studio. Good afternoon, Mr. Sbia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Ngumado. Good afternoon,
I picked up that a lot of economists are not really happy with this move. Just on social media, I wonder where you stand with this particular development, because maybe let's start with the macro sort of economic significance, understanding over 5 billion emalangeni. I can't even believe it when I say it myself. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like close to 80% of our capital expenditure budget this current year, or alone. So yeah, it is quite a lot of money, and I must say it is a bit concerning.
So
as
before you continue, so it's twofold in terms of questions. It's either it talks to our ambition or it raises concerns. Which one is it for you?
It talks to our ambitions, yes. But the issue of being able to bankroll it and finance it, now that's where the concerns come from. And when you do this analysis, Mr. Ngumalo, you don't have to necessarily look at it from just this 5.2 billion loan only. Remember, just yesterday we were reading that there's approximately 4 billion that's been approved as well. So we're moving closer to 9 billion in just a week. And then there is 3.6 billion with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, which we haven't touched yet. But yesterday I saw in the news that the minister also wants to go there and get some money, right? So these monies have to be paid back at some point in time. And right now we're talking more or less 10 billion that should be close to 14-15% of our GDP. That's like 10 billion of those loans. So when you calculate based on our 2023 GDP figures. So that's where it becomes a bit concerning. But the concept in itself, having a strategic oil reserve facility in the country, now that is a move that we needed to make as a country.
Yeah, expeditiously.
Yeah.
And the content says the plan is to store over 83.6 million litres. And they plan to do that in order to ensure that indeed we meet the legal requirement for 60 days, right? In your view, how significant is this in terms of, an economic resilience standpoint, especially for a landlocked country exposed to global oil price volatility?
Yeah, that's why I say, Mr. Ngumalo, as a country, for our own economic stability, macroeconomic stability, and for our own ease of commerce, to ensure that as a country we don't get very much taken aback by these disruptions, it pays. It's going to help the country attain quite a lot in terms of that stability, in terms of making sure that we are able to survive, price spikes in fuel prices, and, our overall fuel pump price remains relatively stable compared to when you are consistently importing, because as it were, we have to bring in fuel every week just to keep the economy going. So now having this facility that can give you up to 60 days storage, now that means you are able to actually, even when when we see those marginal spikes in prices, you are able to keep those prices stable by just drawing on your reserves and then only refilling the reserves when the prices get a bit better again in the market. So it does give us that bit of an advantage.
The public debt as well as the fiscal sustainability of it all becomes a big question, because this project it's been said that it's debt financed. Understanding that, and juxtaposing it with our debt to GDP ratio, which is already a concern in some quarters, if you like. Is this even plausible to begin with, you know, because the fiscal trade-offs, as you call it in economics, does it make sense there?
That's the concerning bit I was raising earlier on. As a country, we are currently paying 2 billion on interest just on the debts.
Hectic.
This year only. That 2 billion now, that takes away from our ability to ensure that we have adequate service provision and all these other spheres of society. So what we need to do in this case, Mr. Nxumalo, what I'm not seeing coming through from the government, or we are just seeing bits and pieces of it, is how are we going to grow the economy so that we are able to pay this debt off? That's what we need to be thinking around now. We know our debt to GDP ratio is quite stable, right? It's at, right now, I would say 40.4%, but the figure is not clear because, you know, we get different figures coming out of the ministry every now and again. So now when you add this additional debt, we don't know how much debt is going to be paid off this year. So we know that some of the debts are going to be paid off and then it's going to bring this in. So in my own estimation, we are moving to close to 45 or in the upper regions of the 40s, close to the 50s in terms of the debt to GDP ratio. So now what you've got to ask yourself is, yes, we have metrics that say Eswatini can actually push it up to 60%. But the issue here is the ability to repay. How are we going to repay this debt when our population, 33% of our people are still unemployed, around 50% of the youth is still unemployed? So what are we doing to reap the benefits of this investment? We need to make this investment so that it brings commerce into the country, so that it brings business into the country. That's what we need to be pushing towards right now.
I suppose that there is a drive towards that, because the report clearly states this facility could also allow private oil marketing companies to access commercial storage and supply undeserved rural areas. And you want to look at that, you know, in terms of, you know, liberalizing Eswatini's downstream petroleum sector and open up space for private investment. Does that answer to that concern, but surely not adequately?
We are not adequately. What we need to be able to do, by my own estimations, we need to have unemployment in the next 2 to 3 years. We need to get businesses to come into Eswatini. We need to create job opportunities. We need to use this investment. Yes, you are pumping in 5.2 billion. But what are we doing to get businesses to come into Eswatini? You know, we can sell the idea that we are relatively stable. You won't want for fuel. We also need to deal with our power problems to make sure that people do get to come into Eswatini. But right now, what we need to do, we have played our card. We can't unplay it now, right? We have played our card. So what we need to do right now is this ambition that we have shown in this in wanting to sign for this 5.2 billion loan must be the very same ambition we need to show in growing the economy
and creating the jobs. And what kind of job opportunities has to be a really sort of keen approach. We want to create really good opportunities there.
You want to make sure that we are growing our petroleum engineers. So you don't want to build the plant there and still have to import chemical engineers to come and work there. You want to do that, make sure that you get Eswatini into that high value chain, into that high value type of job sector. And then you also want to bring in, you know, other companies that are going to be in the tech sector, that are going to be these high value, high job market sectors. That's what we want to do now. We've shown our ambition. We want to do the mega projects. Let us do mega economic revival as well.
And indeed, in theory, this sort of development could sort of bolster and boost jobs around the construction industry, as you speak about, you know, the high value chain, as well as that whole ecosystem. But it could also create job opportunities in logistics and agriculture, if you like.
But that actually, that's quite potent. It depends on how we are going to structure this, Mr. Nxumalo. If we structure the arrangement in a way that says, in your construction involve so much
knowledge of local companies, the logistics. We can, because we are the ones that are going to pay for this
So
loan.
we need to create quotas.
Yes, to tell the person doing this that this has to be done by locals. This has to go to locals. Yeah.
Very important. Opportunity cost and timing, let's get into that, because critics here are arguing that this project could have been done at a lower cost some years ago. How should we assess the opportunity cost of the delayed infrastructure investment here, especially because, when it comes to strategic assets like fuel, that becomes a conversation?
And I mean, there always is an opportunity cost when you do something. Probably at that point in time, we didn't have the fiscal space or the fiscal space to do this, to implement this project. But I think one of the things that we need to worry about is this is a mega project, Mr. Nxumalo. It's the biggest loan we've ever taken. We need to make sure it's done on time and to that cent. We don't need this one to escalate to start ballooning. Those costs to start ballooning, it's going to be disastrous. It has to be done on time. So that's one I think has to be done right on time. So the issue of whether we could have done it cheaper or not, Mr. Nxumalo, I always say in procurement, the cheapest supplier is not always the best. There are things you look at. So that argument, it's an argument we can have and it's an argument we cannot have here and there until and unless we are aware of the metrics that the evaluation team, that the tender evaluation was looking for, right? But my main one here is we have to make sure it's done on time and on cost.
On time and on cost means obviously all hands on deck in terms of creating job opportunities and ensuring the high value chain has quotas here at home and also they are empowered. Thank you so much for your time. He is helping us frame the 5.2 billion Malageni loan, which is the biggest by far the Kingdom of Eswatini has ever taken, which might as well define our economic posture in the next couple of years. Maybe Sunday, I'm closing, but I just want to ask. So I want your short-term sort of assessment of it, what you want to see. I think you've highlighted that, but in the long term, let's talk 5 to 10 years now. What should we see to say, we've made some good strides with this development?
In 5 to 10 years, Mr. Nxumalo, what we would want is, number one, let's have locals coming into the petroleum supply value chain.
Okay.
Those rural areas that are underserved, let's find ways of doing that. This is an opportunity to do that. And then secondly, when you invest in infrastructure, Mr. Nxumalo, you're not investing in that infrastructure for the sake of the infrastructure. We build roads to attract commerce. Let us make the right changes so that we are able to attract the commerce that we need to create the jobs that our people need, and not just jobs, but jobs that allow our people to live a meaningful life. Jobs that pay well. Maybe let's just say that, well-paying jobs.
So let's be our economist as this project breaks down and it breaks ground in Puzumoya. The question becomes not only will our tankers be fueled, but also does it fuel the trust, does it fuel transparency, does it fuel economic transformation in terms of job creation, as well as the value chain that he has spoken about. We'll see. We hope for that and we pray for that. Let's go for a net break.
Welcome back. This is the final segment. You're still tuned into Business Watch, powered by Nedbank Eswatini. We're joined by Sandiswa Dlamini for today's market analysis. Ngozi, a very good afternoon and welcome. What's happening in the markets today? I understand there are interest rates decisions happening this week. What can you anticipate?
Good afternoon, Lulu, and good afternoon to your viewers at home. So as you have rightfully said, we have interest rate decisions coming up from South Africa tomorrow, and we expect the CPE to follow suit on Friday. So the market, what it's expecting is that there will be a 25 basis points cut. That's the priced-in expectation at the moment. So Reuters polled economists to see what are the market sentiments around this interest rate cut. So this is at the back of the inflation numbers that came out last week, where we saw that inflation in South Africa is at 2.8%, which is outside the range of 3.3% and 6%. So currently the expectation now is that South Africa needs to cut interest rates in order to boost the inflation into the required region. And another thing is that there were speculations that the SARB was going to change the range from 3% to 6% to a different one, but that did not materialize. Hence, we now expect the interest rate cuts.
Okay, so let's quickly take a look at today's numbers in the interest of time. We only have 5 minutes.
Yes, so today we can see that the rand appreciated quite strongly against all three major currencies, and we can also see that our equities are also performing quite well, and this is mostly at the back of gold, platinum, and coal. So the prices of these commodities have increased quite rapidly in the past few days, and what we see is that since South Africa is a major exporter for these commodities, the rand have benefited from that. Hence, it strengthened against all three major currencies. We have also seen that in the UK, the GBP have quite suffered a bit because of declining manufacturing, and we have seen service PMI drop. So that affected their currency. So in terms of commodities, also, as I just highlighted, we have seen that gold is dropping slightly currently, and this is also coming from the fact that the tensions that were posed by Trump recently, where he was threatening the EU of a 50% tariff, that have slowed down because he mentioned that will be postponed until I think it's mid-July, which gives the EU and the US enough time to negotiate trade and maybe come to the table with a better deal instead of the 50% tariff. But these are developments that we're going to keep on monitoring as time goes. And in terms of oil, there's a lot that's still happening in oil. We have seen the price of oil decline slightly, but we expect different results. We have a meeting, OPEC meeting we have a meeting on Friday where OPEC Plus is meeting. So this is when the major countries that supply oil, we have Russia, we have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Algeria in Africa, we also have Oman and Kazakhstan. These countries come together to determine the supply that should be in the market in July. So this decision is for July going forward. So they are going to determine if they're going to increase the supply or decrease the supply. And at the moment, the projections are that the oil supply is going to be increased by 411,000 barrels. But these have to be timed correctly, and it should be the right amount, because an oversupply will see a decline in the price and undersupply will also see a spike. So this will be a very important decision to look after in the coming few days. But the final decision will be made on June 1. So we are then going to see what's the final decision, because from this initial meeting, we are just going to see the projections or where they might lie in the final decision.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandiswa. That was Treasury Sales Dealer from Nedbank Eswatini. This was the final segment of Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. Catch us again next week, Wednesday, for Business Watch, powered by Nedbank Eswatini. Have a lovely day and have a safe and fun weekend. We'll see you next week.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.